Don't eat on the pod. That's well rude. No one wants to hear you chomping down the bit.
I'll mute myself when I'm eating. You're drinking.
I need to drink. I've even brought an extra large bottle.
I thought it was a bottle of wine. No, it's sponsored with Australia, isn't it?
No, it's probably one of these pint ones that you've put in. Pint of champagne or whatever it is.
There's pints of champagne. Funny.
Pints of champagne. We will not be using them for a while, I'll tell you that.
No, I certainly shan't be with the year that I've got coming up, relegation and redundancy.
Whichever ones. Be honest, people, we're going to try and avoid talking about football. But I do have a new camera, which allows me to do things, which is at least entertaining. This was me after Camille Conte decided to leave us.
God knows why.
Evening, Stephen. How are you?
Evening, Steve.
Mike is coming on. He's just coming on through his phone because his internet is shite. Oh my God,
you
that is a close-up, Mike.
You didn't have to go yesterday, you lucky bastard. The rest of us
I don't know how I'm lucky because at least I get some entertainment. The best bit at this part of the season when everything has gone to rack and ruin is I've got to turn this off. What do we want to go back to? My dad. There we go. Is
Gandalf with a shave.
Gandalf with a shave. Is the witty repartee that fans have, because I assume we've got to that point now where we're no longer annoyed and we're all just taking the piss. I assume.
Gallows humour. Yeah, that's where I've been. That's a coping mechanism that I've used for nearly 20 years. So I don't see why I've stopped now.
What else have we got? Which one did you prefer, Mike? Should we go with what? Let's be honest, with the way my hairline is going and this season's going. There you go.
That was a bit of a look to the future, I said to you, didn't I?
Don't worry, mate. You look like Lee Mason.
Who's that? Or the referee?
The referee. Yeah.
God, that's a.
Barry Conlon.
Barry Conlon. No, hang on. Barry Conlon.
Have you got
any fish you can bite the head off or something?
Have you got a Laceby Arms wall chart behind you or something?
That's gone now. I'm really sorry for everyone who is, look, Ratatouille or whatever it is.
Flushed away.
I don't really want to click Cyber Me. So there we go. Oh my God.
Get rid of that now. Get rid of the
I look like I've been to Turkey. Look, this is really entertaining for anyone who's listening on the podcast. Yeah, it is Rylan. Hi, darling.
Yeah, for people who listen, this is about as much use as a chocolate teapot, but it's entertaining for us at the very least.
Anyway, what a week. What a test. That's all we're going to talk about. England win in India for the first time in forever. The Australians lose themselves. Jim Maxwell loses the plot. Fox Cricket Sport in Australia look like the mugs they always are. Let's talk about that. And if you don't like cricket, then I don't know really
what's wrong with you.
Yeah, what's wrong with you for a start? Who doesn't like enjoying the sun, getting a tan, getting drunk, and taking the piss out of Australians?
No. But actually,
let's talk about that.
We want to test there more recently. We want to test there 3 years ago. We won the first test in Chennai in 2021 in a more conventional manner than we did today. Joe
200 odd runs behind. Incredible stuff. Incredible.
Sam is exactly the same as he is with football, though. With that, like you'll be watching it.
He's worth with cricket.
Every 25 minutes, it's oh yeah, we're going to win this, and then oh no, we're going to lose, and then we're shit, and then we're great, and like in the space of 2 hours, he's gone a full circle. So I do worry about your mental health, mate.
Doesn't that embody the kind of greatness of the game, though, that you can kind of, except
no,
extreme case?
It suggests you need some support. You need support.
You're unstable.
Mike, can you turn it on its side? Does it not do that?
What?
Your camera.
My phone's on my side.
Have you got it all sorted?
It's propped up somewhere. It's staying like this.
Fine. Okay.
Yes,
fine.
Yes, Stephen. Let's talk about Maidstone. That is, but we don't need to get any further, do we? Otherwise, they'll have got as far as we did from 2 divisions below us.
I miss being good in the I miss being good in the FA Cup. Daniel, you can go. I'm not having this. Cricket is shit. It's not my fault. You don't have the attention span for it, is it? Not my fault. Not having this.
I bet he thinks the 100's a great idea.
Oh no. Well, I think Daniel's opinion is cricket is shit. Cricket is cricket, and it's all shit.
Well,
for those of you who don't know, I do have a membership at Surrey, so it is lovely to see a Surrey boy do wonderfully. but not too many. I want to win the county championship again.
There's a proper Yorkshireman that won with the bowling in the first innings, though, isn't it? Don't forget that. It's always Yorkshire that have to do it.
Bloke from India.
You mean the Yorkshireman who's carried the batting for the last decade?
Oh yeah.
If we're getting to a point where Joe Root has to, sorry guys, I know we'll talk about football. I promise.
No,
we have to.
Let's talk. Well, Ollie Hudson suggests Hodgson suggests the Black Country Derby. Wasn't it nice to see football go back to when there was a little bit of passion?
I had this discussion in a group chat today about how kind of some people say we want more of this. This is good, and I'm thinking, no, this is bad. This is why football fans are treated like criminals because of this sort of thing.
Hey, you talk about criminals. You think it's bad over here? We don't have a problem. It always annoys me. If you go anywhere on the continent, France, Netherlands, or Eastern Europe, it's terrible. We have one flare up every couple of years.
Eastern Europe's dreadful.
That's Sam's political persuasions coming out. Eastern European is awful.
No, Eastern European fan behaviour is terrible. They have a huge issue with the race issue over there. I mean, you see Hungarians booing black players. It's dreadful.
Anyway, so I mean, yeah, it's not a bad. Simon Hodson wants to know if Bryn Morris is coming back in the transfer window. That shows exactly how shit Man United are, that they made Bryn Morris look like a world-class midfielder.
He scored a long-range shot there last season playing for us. It's obviously a thing.
I think Newport County fans would prefer if it was more of a thing when he plays there.
Yeah, if he was that good, he wouldn't play for them, would he?
No, well, what a shame we lost him, I mean, we thought it was bad with Bryn Morris. we needed this sage old me with the filter on to come on and say, look, give it a year. You'll be wanting him back.
Yeah. Bryn Morris scoring for Newport. Danilo also knocking left-right goals and another former
scoring
employee,
goals.
Another former employee did quite well this weekend, but I won't talk about that. Fear of pelters, the inevitable pelters that will come my way for it. Danny Lewis says he's a leader we need this season. We certainly need some leaders. I'm not sure Bryn Morris is a leader, but we certainly do need some leaders. That was in evidence.
If Bryn Morris is a leader, I don't know where we're going.
The conference, mate. That's where we're going if he's the leader. But that's unfair of Bryn Morris. It just kind of. I thought
we're doing that. Right. We're doing that without him. We don't need Bryn Morris here to take us to the conference. We've got players.
We are perfectly capable. Yeah, perfectly capable of doing that ourselves.
I love how it kind of like in 1 week we've gone from, I was saying a week ago, kind of, we're a decent side. They can probably finish in the top half with a better goalkeeper, a better centre half, and a better right back. To all of a sudden, we're sleepwalking into relegation.
You speak for yourself, I'm not.
No.
Well,
I mean,
well, let's get into it then. So they've had 2 weeks of uninterrupted. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, do we have? No, we've got 2 weeks of uninterrupted training. Do whatever you want with them. Work with them. Start molding them. You've got 2 weeks where you can bring in your own players, and they've gone backwards. And I think that's where we set up. That performance was late Hurst. Like that was the Doncaster game. That was.
Open wide for some soccer.
And now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1130. Go! At 1130.
I don't think I've ever wanted to be in a stand more than my life around there. They're going crazy. Yeah, they got a penalty here. They've been fish flying about there. There's no tomorrow.
What a magnificent piece of football! A really, really good goal. You can't make it straight like that.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the DM35 podcast. Come and join us in the therapist room of discussion, where hopefully we can at least let you vent a little bit, and we can hopefully find some, slight positives in it. And you can move on with your working week without having to check the fishy and the 19-page Artel thread, which Mark Mosscrope has said that is currently going through through that forum.
I've already made the mistake of commenting on it a few times, and now I'm in.
Look, I don't even comment when I get slagged off. I don't know why you bother going on.
I've basically retired from posting on the fishy. It's just the thread that spawned after Jason D's interview on New Year's Day about how it's terrible for kind of intellectual discussion. Basically, in meltdown at the fact he'd said that, proved his point beautifully. Yeah,
there's a lot of. Do you know what? There's a lot of people I know who go on the fishy. You know, it's just there are some in there that I think are a little bit wind up merchant like, and you know, it goes. You just can't respond to stupid, can you?
There are some people. There are plenty of people on there who are relatively intellectual and present decent thoughts and kind of
don't even need to be intellectual.
No, not even just well thought out and kind of reasonable arguments. But there are some just kind of people fishing for baiting people on there, and people like Mike, by the sounds of it, have fallen for it today.
I don't need people quoting Dostoevsky at me. Like, just say what you think and be good humoured about it, because first and foremost, people, I hope this is a safe space. Some people suggest it's not, but feel free to put your thoughts in. And put your ideas forward as to what we can do and what is going wrong. I said that I feel like we've gone backwards. The players had 45 minutes with Artel before the MK Dons performance, one of the better of the season. And I've got an idea. I don't necessarily think it's the managers. Managers, all four of them. I think the players are a little bit weird. That's my bit. I think they're a little bit weird. I think I don't know what to say. It was just, Mike, you watched it. What did you think?
Not a lot, to be honest, mate. I mean, I was more calm and relaxed after we lost 6-1, to be totally honest with you, because when we lost 6-1, I could see us trying to do bits. I could see what we was trying to do, and we were just really terrible at the back, and they were very clinical. Like yesterday, I have absolutely no idea what we're doing. We've got the ball at the back, and we're wanting to try and play through the thirds, and you've got midfielders that just don't want to do anything and give any options. Just standing behind the opposing strikers, not giving angles or giving places for the ball to go. And when they do, they drop back into the defensive line and passing sideways. Nobody on the half turn. Nobody running at somebody. Just really poor. And I can't for the life of me understand how footballers can be so inconsistent. They obviously have a message with how they need to be playing football and how we want to play. And they just look panicked all the time. That's what I take. Just look absolutely panicked. And the frustrating thing is, Tranmere were better than us, but they weren't, a great team. They weren't any great licks. They ran a bit harder, possibly, took their chances, but we gave them their chances. So that's the frustrating thing, is that we're at home, and we've done nothing that we've shown over the last couple of weeks that we can do in terms of getting the ball into the box, creating chances, building phases of play, playing through the thirds. We just resorted to passing it around at the back a little bit and then whacking it forward. And that's not, it's clueless. And what the reason for that is, I'm not sure. But I was so angry yesterday compared to the 6-1 at Walsall. I think yesterday was worse, and they deserve a digging out. They deserve to be told that they might not be good enough, and they need to put their act together. The thing you expect with professional footballers is they have a go, and I'm looking around that yesterday. I'm thinking, are you really into digging in here? Are you really trying to find a way to win? Are you really trying to think about how you've been told to play and how you're going to carry that out? And I'm starting to question it. And there's a few players that, I've said over the last few weeks, I'm not sure, and I won't jump into decisions about, but I'm starting to make my mind up on a few. And yeah, just absolutely terrible. But what I would say is about with the thing about Artel and things. Yesterday's the first time it's got into the back of my head about him and the situation with relegation and stuff. I don't think you can be happy or relatively happy last week and then turn your opinion so quickly about him, because I think that's just a bit rash to suddenly change your opinion. But it's the first time yesterday it started getting into the back of my mind about, oh dear, are we in a bit of trouble?
I don't think we will go down. Comparisons to the 2 relegation seasons are stark. I mean, in both of those seasons, the damage was done in the first half of the season. Then we sort of got better towards the back end of the season, but we're too little, too late. This time we've got a cushion. I think we've got a much better group of players than we had back then. Although they're doing their best to disprove that theory of mine at the moment. Certainly yesterday's evidence. It's fairly clear from what he said, though, that they weren't doing what he told them to. It's not the first time he's alluded to this. I spoke after the Walsall game about players either refusing to or being incapable of carrying out the instructions that he sends them out to do. That just means not good enough, or they're just not up to it, or they won't do it. It amounts to the same thing, doesn't it? Now, I know a few people have had a few things to say about the Artell interview at the back end, or Matt Dean's style. I mean, we can get into that a bit later if we want. But I'm not panicked by the thought of relegation. I think there's 2 teams easily that are going to be worse than us this season. But, I mean, compare that to the start of the season when we're all thinking that top 7 push and beyond. We've signed some really good players. And here we are now staring down the barrel of a relegation battle. It's beggars belief, really. I know what you mean, Mike. I said to my dad it was worse than Walsall for the reasons you stated. Sort of like 38 minutes, we're in control of the game, dominating the ball, making them look ordinary, and then we conceded and we capitulated. The lack of leadership in the side is it's non-existent, and I'm not casting aspersions as to whether we should have let Waterfall go or not. But he was the only genuine, bona fide leader we had in the entire squad, and he's gone. Now you can make the case that he's not up to league football, and certainly not up to the way that Artell wants to play. But at least he kind of rolled his sleeves up and got stuck in and commanded a bit of kind of authority on the pitch. There's nobody who does that. There's nobody. And if we don't sign somebody, that we are going to end up kind of spiralling into some horrendous position. I mean, I've heard in the last couple of days we've got a defensive midfielder and a left back already signed in the building. They better have something about them rather than just be good players. They better have a bit of kind of personality, a bit of character. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. Sorry, I went on a rant there, but
let's just go through what other people are saying. So, yes, Simon Hodson says yesterday was the first time I thought we could actually go down. Danny GTFC wants to know if Kieran Green won his contract in a raffle. Andrew Niles says, when I saw the midfield lineup yesterday before the game, I was worried. Ollie says the team selection is very bizarre. We all know Rogers, Green and Clifton are limited in their ball abilities and they all got played. Ollie also then said, then we have all this talk of learning playbooks for set pieces. Artell first joined. Then we're reverting back to just sticking to long throws into the box again. And I think, our corners, I'll add to this, Ollie, is just try and get it to the front post and see if it flicks on and see what happens. Newswatch says I sit in the Young's lower and Glennon was getting some terrible stick for most of the game. At least he could stick to summit. Danny GTFC says one thing I agreed with Artell on is it was a shocking game to watch. 2 of the most limited teams I've ever seen in Football League in a game settled by soft as shit own goal. It was dross. Simon says, is a guy with a supposed long throw not against all of the possession football we are trying to play? Stephen Tappan says maybe most of them have been told they're going in the summer. And Mike Warden says, does the Artell Dean interview worry people? I've just listened to the first bit, which was quite funny. If I was Matt, I haven't listened to anything after that, so apologies. But if I was Matt Dean, and we do occasional interviews, and if the manager was giving me that, I'd get pissed off at him. I understand you're annoyed, but this is your chance to speak to the fans who have just, once again, a near sellout at Blundell Park. The championship teams never got even close to this, and they're watching this, paying their 400 quid for a season ticket or whatever it is, and you're putting on that garbage. So they're due a response, and they're due an answer. I don't know if it went on from that, Mike. I know you listened to it and had some thought.
Yeah, I think I think firstly, I don't mind the start too much. The guy's obviously pissed off, and I would be I'd be concerned if he wasn't. I think through the rest of the interview, he did go into that sort of thing, and he did, held his hands up, said any criticisms are warranted, and he did go into a lot more detail. But just initially at the start, he's quite clearly pissed off. I think we're starting to learn that in his interviews, he's a little bit hard on sleeves, and I just think he was generally pissed off, and I can't blame him. He went on to say that he'd sent them out there with a game plan and they're just not doing it. They're just whacking it, is what he kept saying. And he said about Doug Thorne when he went off, he said, "Well, what's wrong with him?" He said, "Probably because he just keeps whacking it." So he did go into detail and did give those answers. I just think he was generally just pissed off at the start.
Yeah.
Would you? Can I just throw a stat in for you? Sorry, Sam. Would anyone like to hazard a guess? This time during the year we got relegated back to the conference for the second time. We'd played 26 games, 2 less than what we've played currently. Would anyone like to hazard a guess how many points we had?
It's going to be bad because you wouldn't tell us otherwise, would you?
I know, 20... so I'm not going to say.
Go on, Sam. Go on then, because I'm.
24, isn't it?
I've got 21.
Is it 21? No.
Yeah, we've got 21.
Might have been the same date as it was last year.
So we got. Yeah, so we got 2. We've played 2 more games, and we've got 7 more points. We know exactly how. Yeah, I guess it's progress. Yeah, brilliant. What were you going to say, Sam?
I was going to say regarding the Artell interview. I know Matt Dean sort of pushed back against it a little bit. I wasn't very impressed with the way he tried to get dig Glennon out in an interview. He asked him one question and he asked him again. He's not going to slag Glennon off in an interview. Now I thought Glennon played poorly yesterday.
No,
that's not fair. Glennon is a poor man's Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Mike,
he's defensively.
I'm ready.
Although he's improved his defensive, I think a little bit since Artell came. You can't say Glenn's not played better. The quality of delivery he puts into the box, both on a. Oh, has he gone?
No, has he gone?
No. The quality of delivery he has on his set pieces and in general play is very, very good. Now, you do get defensive disaster classes that you saw yesterday, and you had one of those at Notts County earlier in the season. But to say he's the biggest problem with that back four, I think is very unfair on him. Look at the other flank.
If I could just say about Glennon, it's no surprise that I'm a fan of Glennon, so I'm going to stick up for him. I've sort of said that before. I mean, he's a Division 4 footballer. They will make mistakes. Every player will make mistakes. And yesterday, he had 2 mistakes, led to 2 goals. It's bang his fault. What I would say is Anthony Glennon is decent enough defensively in a back four that have decent centre backs, and then what he does give you going forward far outweighs what he costs you going backwards sometimes. Yeah, we didn't have this problem last year with him because we had 2 centre halves that were playing decent. So
sometimes.
But if you look at the back four, if you look at the 3 centre backs we've got and the right back, Malarkey, Rogers, Waterfall, and Marr that have played this season, I would put all of them ahead of him in shitness, if that's a word. So if we're looking for problems in the defence, I don't think it's Anthony Glennon, because I think since he came back into the side, he has improved. He's had a couple of man of match awards, a couple of assists, and he's done well. He had a bit of a shocker yesterday defensively. It happens. I mean, if you look back the last few games, people saying he's been bad for a couple of games. Well, you look at counting, you look at Walsall, and I can count 7 of the 11 goals that came down the right hand side. So let's focus on where the actual problem actually is.
Look at the third goal against Notts County. Malarkey can point. He points. He sees the danger. They don't go and close the man down. How on earth we're going to have to put up with him for another 18 months?
I thought he got undue stick yesterday. I think someone pointed out on social media saying, well, why doesn't he go to the man for the first goal? I think he's well in his rights to not go to it because there's a guy right behind him. And if he does go to him and then they square it, he's completely unmarked in the middle of the box to slot it home. I think he was, damned if he did, damned if he didn't.
So it's all Glennon's fault. And that's going to happen. He's professional football. I'm not stupid enough to defend the indefensible like Sam with Mishi. But it's all on him. It's his fault defensively. He's committed twice and got done, and it's led to 2 goals. It's his fault. I don't think it makes him a bad player. I think it makes him comparable for it, though.
Fine. It's just there's so many things. I think in Division 4, every one of these players has the ability to play in this league, no problem whatsoever. We've seen it on multiple occasions when they've put in performances that are worth crowing about and supporting. Oh, this camera is terrible, isn't it? Can you still hear me? It's just
you look gorgeous, mate. Don't worry about it.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. Was that what's he doing? Okay. Is that these players are all more than capable at times, but I think Grimsby fans are quite happy as long as somebody puts a shift in and somebody, bleeds for the badge and works their arse off and leaves everything out there on the pitch and there's nothing left to take in. I don't see that with the team. And I understand they're meant to be playing out from the back at times. And, I would question that. But with 10 minutes to go, I saw no urgency. I saw no options being given. I saw no creativity. What I saw against MK Dons and what I saw against Oxford was players running, giving options, making themselves available for the ball, making sure that they were being seen and making sure that they were moving around. One of the problems I had with the first wasn't with the first goal, but was the first mistake. Can you remember that they had an almost identical opportunity to score before it when the guy,
I might not have been watching by then.
Yeah, and Jennings blazed over from quite close range, didn't he?
Yeah, the guy had I don't know who it was. I think it might have been Issa, had got to the ball and had two Tranmere players against his back. And both guys who were near him went in front of him and they both went, leaving him no defensive opportunities, no one to pass it back to. And then all of a sudden, he loses it to two players because he's 2-on-1 and he gets in and is clean through and could have well been 1-0 as well. I just don't think these players are. I just don't think they're right. I just don't think they fit. Whether it's be the group as they are, or if it's selected number of individuals, I don't know what it is, because I saw as well someone was saying Hurst has wasted all the FA Cup money on Dross, and that's fine. There are some players, Eastwood, Malarkey, who else could we add into that? Rogers. Can anyone else think of another one? I think those three are questionable. They are bad signings. Issa, Conte, Rose,
Wilson.
I've got
Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson, Pike. I've got no problem with them. I think they're fine. I don't think he wasted the money. I think those players are okay. Vernon as well. I think Vernon was the only one that came on yesterday after Rose who gave us anything, who tried and did something. And I don't think he's had a run in the squad yet to be able to show what he can do. And when he can, I think he's going to be important for us, because I think he's going to be the one we're relying on to actually put some pace into the team. Unless we've got this left back who was apparently, the quickest player in MLS, granted in 2018. But, in Division 4, hopefully that means something.
I think yesterday I think quite quickly we realised what we missed Conte for. And yesterday, as I said, I don't think there was anybody that was willing to take the ball in midfield and do something with it. I think Wood was willing, but he thought he had all the time in the world at times. He's not going to get that much space and that much time to do stuff. So I think I appreciated Conte's effect on the team pretty quickly when I didn't see him in it. There's nobody that wants to take that ball on the half turn. And we've said before over the last couple of weeks, other than the odd couple, now Eastwood's a reserve goalkeeper, so I don't really include him. That's not a massive problem. But if you look at Malarkey and Rogers, there's two players that haven't improved us. Everybody else, I would argue, is better than what we let go. The problem is you've got players like Waterfall, Marr, Green, Khan, Gav to some extent, but I don't think he's been poor. I just think he's been inconsistent.
I think he's been one of our best players.
And other players that were here last year that just aren't performing. And, we said earlier that what the people were saying on the fish, if players have got a problem, with Artel or anything that's going on, you're in no position to judge because you're shit, right? So get on with it, play football, and represent the football club as you should, because none of you in that squad, bar one or two, have got anything to hang your hat on this season. You've got Paul Hurst sacked, a good man and a club legend. You've got him sacked, and you offer up performances like that on Saturday. Now, I might be a little bit still angry with Saturday, but, anybody in that dressing room that thinks they know better or are above criticism, you're not, because you've been terrible this season. You need to pull your fingers out.
This is why, to me, you can lay a little bit of criticism. You can criticise Artel and any decisions he makes without kind of being cast as Artel out. They're not mutually exclusive. But a number of times, in defence of the centre-backs yesterday, they take the ball and they want to play it into midfield. Green is not capable of receiving the ball on the half-turn and playing a ball through the line. He can't do it. He'll never will be able to do it. That's not his game. So, and nor is it Harry Clifton's either. Harry Clifton runs his heart out. Love what he did last season. Does some good stuff, but he isn't a footballer to save his life. He can't take the ball in the half turn. He's a runner. He's an engine. So this has come back to the point about Artell's got to be allowed to make his own signings before we can make any kind of judgment about him, him long term. But I mean, you mentioned Holohan there. I think I might kind of get a bit of criticism for this comment I'm about to make. Gav's suddenly become a world beater on the bench, hasn't he? He's madly inconsistent as Gavin.
Yeah, but that's what I think in this. Mars exactly the same, isn't he? You've got to this point now where the players are so bad, you just get better by being on the bench. If Otis Khan came back tomorrow, he would be Messi, incarnate.
Yes, even Michi Effetti has gained a kind of godlike status on the substitutes bench because
I would allow him to come on for 5 minutes at the end of a game. That is how much. Yeah, that's how well I rate him now.
Just to kind of remind people like me that how bad you think Cadway, but I'm not having a Michi Effetti.
Yeah.
But Gav, go back to it. Gav's runs again. He runs his heart out. He does score important goals, but he's passing sloppy, and he chucks in horrendous performances every now and then. He's not the kind of very consistent, great midfielder that people make him out to be. Although I do like him and what he's done, but you ain't going to bring Gav Holohan to the side and suddenly all of a sudden we're going to be a great team. It's not going to happen.
But I think when Gav plays well, people around him play well, and I think he's one of those that if you can get him in the middle of the park and he has some consistency this season, I think he makes everybody around him better. The problem this season, last season he wasn't outstanding, but he made players around him better. And I just look at that midfield yesterday, and I'm starting to think, oh my God, that's a massive problem, and it wasn't before. And the only difference is we don't have that person that wants to take the ball and do something with it and receive it and beat a man or anything like that. And that's a problem.
If we play Artell ball, we ain't going anywhere with Kieran Green and Harry Clifton.
I think the thing with Gav, before we move on from that, Sam, because I wanted to add a point as well, was that I think Gav typified the team last season. He was probably our strongest centre midfielder, but he was inconsistent because everyone else was very reliant on him putting in a match-winning performance, and time again he could do, but you'd get it 3 out of 5 games sort of thing. You can't expect it all the time, and that was where I thought our inconsistency. If we can support Gav or look for people that are slightly better than him, then we are only going in the right direction, because you are looking for his replacement now because of his age. He's 32, 33. But, he's still a player that's worth, having a go. And I think he'd have made a better fist of it yesterday than whatever we had on the pitch.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sam.
Can I just come back to the leadership thing as well? Because we've not really talked about that. Is a huge issue that there's nobody who's willing to roll the sleeves up and got stuck in. I mean, how much we need Craig Disley or Sean Pearson on the pitch and any at the moment. But that, do you agree, or did you think I'm kind of sort of getting over emphasis on that?
I see what you're saying. We do need that, but the point I was making earlier is, you've got Ma. He's played professional football for a long time. He's been there for a couple of seasons. You've got Green. He's senior player. You've got Clifton. Danny Rose. You've got Clifton that's been here. Mulaki.
How many games did he play last year? How many games was he celebrating a couple of weeks ago?
He has 250 or 350 or something like that. Yeah.
He's a senior pro.
Yeah. Rogers is 26. He's played in League One for the last couple of seasons. They're there. They're just not doing it. Issa's 27. So you've got the experience. You don't have the maybe the leadership, but you've got professional footballers that have been around a bit, and should be able to pull their sleeves up and drag some people with them. And unfortunately, I think it is. You need somebody in there that will do that, because they just don't look like they want to. I was thinking yesterday, it wasn't a secret that they're not doing what they're meant to do and the game plan's not going well. And they'll be getting instructions from the side of the pitch. Surely there's got to be somebody on there getting hold of everybody saying, "Look, lads, come on, why are we doing this?"
You got Pearson. You got Pearson on the bench, and you got Steve Craston, both of who are not shy and retiring types.
Yeah. So last season I saw it a couple of times. Luke Waterfall got players together and gave them a rollicking, and you saw an improved performance. I saw that a couple of times last season. Yesterday there's nobody getting people together or cajoling or saying, "Come on, you need to be doing better than this." So if you're waiting for leadership and instructions to come from the sidelines, you're not autonomous robots. You should be. You're at a level where you should be able to work a lot of that out yourself, and have a bit of pride in what you're doing. It's very clear what you've been told to do, and that you're not doing it.
Mike is angry. He's
I don't really. Well, I am. I'm fuming, to be honest with them.
Here are some of the comments that are coming through. Glenn and Malarkey are National League standard, get rinsed game after game. Gav is inconsistent, but I'd prefer him to the midfielder over any of the Saturday set of players. Danny says Holohan only plays well in a good team. He doesn't drag a team out of trouble. Stephen McDade says Hunt wants to take the ball, but he's just not good enough or strong enough for this level. I'll add that to the end, Stephen. Ollie says any League Two centre midfield should be able to take the ball on the half turn. I mean, Ollie, we've had half of them. None of them can. A lot of the players in amateur football can do that. I guess it's just the level, I guess. Green is up there.
Sorry, I was going to say that's why it annoys me so a lot, because you're at a level where you should be able to do that. It's quite right.
Yeah, but how many midfielders in League Two have we had? We've had Bryn Morris. We've had such and such and such and such. How many of those do you think can take? How many? And I got into grief for this because I said Kamil Conte was one of the better, one of the best technically gifted players we have had at this club. And I said for a long time, I mean 21 years since we've been relegated to League Two. I can't think of many other players who are as technically gifted as he is. Technically gifted, though, does not necessarily mean he is a good player. He can be like Thomas Pino, who is very good at certain things, but he never played a pass forward. He had 2 assists given, the influence he had on that team. And I'm sure we'll get onto him later. But, I don't think there are many players in League Division 4 that can take a ball on half the turn, because I think we've had half of them on loan.
I can think of more players in the conference who could take the ball on the half turn and play it through the lines. Diz could do it.
Yeah, but in the conference, Sam.
Scott Kirk.
In the conference.
That's the point I'm making, Alex. I'm saying that's the embarrassing thing, that we came up with more players in the conference who could do it.
Yeah, but they're playing against worse teams.
You can either do it or you can't, though, can't you? That's the point.
It's not that I don't think they can't do it. I think with some of them, they don't want to. I don't think they want the ball. And that was the thing with Conte, is he wanted the ball. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, I think that's true. Right, last couple. Ollie says it's odd that Artel hasn't brought a single member of staff with him. Normally a manager has at least 1 or 2 backroom staff that help him implement their ideas. And maybe that might be a problem as well, Ollie. But, I think we're all frustrated. Has anyone got anything else to add on where we are at the moment? If not, we'll move on to the comings and goings, because we've got about 20 minutes left. Are we all good? We all vented? Anybody else need to vent?
I don't have anything else to say.
We'll be back in 2 seconds. I thought I'd give you the sea noise to calm you down. So, ins and outs are coming, and we've lost 3 players this week. Luke Waterfall, we'll come on to in a second. Otis Khan went on loan to Hartlepool, and we've also lost Kamil Conte to Bristol Rovers as well for an undisclosed fee. People reckon it's about 300 grand with a 20% sell on. Gents, let's start with Otis Khan. I'll forget about him in 10 minutes. I don't know how you feel about it.
Gifted.
Go right, next one.
That couldn't apply it for whatever reason. I don't think it's an effort reason, but he had the skill, he has the ability. He just never applied it, whether that's through injury or just lack of form. That's how I remember him. If he was on song, he'd look dangerous, but he just wasn't. He wasn't at that level enough.
Like a lot of players,
I think he'll do well at National League with Hartlepool, though. Sorry, Sam. I think he'll do well at that level.
Like a lot of players from last season, I remember him best for his brace at Cambridge in the Cup. Apart from that, I've got very little I can remember about him, to be honest with you, despite being apparently played 54 games from, as one of my mates did some tallying up the other day, which I found astonishing, which kind of tells you how memorable he's been. Anyway, move on.
We had about 30 FA Cup games, in fairness, didn't we? So,
yeah, that's true. Kamil Conte obviously moved on. We've kind of touched on him a little bit already, but it'd be good to get your guys' thoughts. I think there is a wavering, a hugely different opinion online and with fans about him. Some saying we've lost an all-time great. Others are saying I didn't really notice what he did. It's flattered to deceive.
The biggest thing was people moaned about the fact we didn't disclose the fee. That was the one that really got me.
Oh, I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean,
God,
why would you let?
Taking my role.
Sorry, mate. Why would you let people that you're trying to buy players off know how much money you've just got? I mean, why would you do that? If somebody's robbing the bank, you don't tell them how much money you've got.
No.
And, another thing on that is, there was quite a lot of
Even his
Oh, he's
AirPods
that
had him.
he's that angry. Look at it. Look at this.
His AirPods had him very good.
You got me back.
Yeah, you're back.
Regrettably.
Yeah, another thing that is there's quite a lot of anger about the fact, we had a release clause in there apparently. Now, you've got two options. If a player wants a release clause in their contract and you don't give them it, you don't sign the player. If you put the release clause in the contract, you get the player. It turned out to be 6 months, but if you hadn't gone this, it could have been a year, and we had a decent player. You get some money and you get some profit on a sell-on. So you either get nothing or you get something. So I just can't work that out. I can't understand the annoyance, because if you don't put a clause in that a player wants, you don't get them.
To play devil's advocate, Mike, we obviously don't know if that's the if that's the stumbling block, or if that's the
why would there be a clause in there if they didn't want it? Why would we put a clause in there?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you don't know whether or not if that's a deal breaker or not. So I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
I understand. My point of view would be if it wasn't a deal breaker, it wouldn't be there. Is my understanding, but you're perfectly fair.
Looking back in hindsight, I'd say yeah, you can have a release clause, but it doesn't come into force until after your first season. I think that's probably, but again, we weren't there, so you don't know if that's a deal breaker either or not. But he's gone. Bristol Rovers, classy as always. Try and play some banter again. Some fans loved it. I thought it was a bit unprofessional, and I think it's my duty. The club won't do it. Bruce is too on the fence. Every time I hear him on Umberside, he never gives an opinion this way or the other. And I think it's my duty to at least defend us and go in 2-footed. So you're all welcome. So, again, you can't trust a club with such an abysmal judge of character. Loving Ian Holloway and Joey Barton. What can you expect? And I guess they can afford him now they've paid off Joyce. There you go, Sam. There's the bitterness.
There's the bitterness.
You have a word with that court in Belgium, is it, about VAR decisions? Have a word about a final in 2015.
I've got a fair and a semi-final in 2014. That was arguably a worse decision.
One thing I would say, though, I tweeted about this in the week, is that I think Joe Hutchinson gets a lot of unfair grief, and he has got it this year. And I think this is a nice little win for him, because Hurst, unlike Hurst, admitted he didn't really know much about Conte, and it was Joe Hutchinson that identified him and actually went and pretty much got him and convinced him. So for all the grief he's got this year, I think well done to Joe Hutchinson. He's obviously earned us a bit of money, which is his job.
He says the Rovers thing was just weird. Taylor Belief says, I think Conte was a very good player, and based on stats, weekly being on top for tackles won, etc. And happy we got it done a week left on the transfer window. Bristol Rovers with Dicks on Twitter, now called X. And then Paul Thicke says, need big clear out. There's no midfield to lead, but who's going to come in to a bottom side? Sam, what were you going to say?
It's God. It doesn't matter.
We have cleared a lot of money. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, Waterfalls. I bet Waterfall was a high in here as well.
Let's talk about that, man. 150 appearances, was it, for Town, something like that? Maybe I'm doing him a disservice. But
177, I think it was, mate.
He's a huge redemption arc, and I know I saw some people on social media saying people were quick to criticize him in the national in that season that got us relegated. He was poor at times. He was really poor. And, that Stevenage game again kind of sits in my head, when he, gave the ball away for their goal in the last minute after we'd equalised, sort of thing. He was terrible at times, but, an incredible change, found his level in the National League. I don't know, but he was a stalwart, and we would have not gone up. And any man who gives us an image of him running past, scoring that goal at Wrexham and then telling Paul Mullen to fuck off is, an absolute starlet.
Yeah, I didn't think he was as bad as some people made him out to be in the relegation season. Sure, he wasn't. I'm not saying he was good by any stretch of the imagination. Nobody was, and I wouldn't have lost his sleep if he'd been let go. And this is what I'm talking about. I said this on Humberside the other night, that Waterfall embodies everything that we aren't. When he was told he could go by Hurst, he went, nope, I'm going to roll my sleeves up, get stuck in, and prove that I can still hack it. And he did just that. And then we came back into the league last season. I thought he was one of our better 2 or 3 players last season, in both in the cup run and in the league. I thought he was absolutely excellent, being absolutely central to almost all of the good memories in Hurst's second spell, whether it be Wrexham heading the ball back across at Notts County in both the league game and the playoff game, playing excellently against Luton and Southampton. Maybe because I'm younger than all of you guys and most of you listening, that I love Luke Waterfall to bits and was very sorry to see him go because he's basically been intrinsic to all anything that's good that's happened in the last few years.
Yeah, well, at least he can extend his career, and he's got a fair few former Town players there, so he, links back up with Manny. He's got Otis there as well. Who else is there that's former Town? There's got to be someone else.
Nicky Featherstone, Luke Hendry.
Yeah, quite a few there that he can start, building it back up with. Do you play for Scunny as well?
Waterfall, yeah, play for Scunny.
Yeah. He's one of the few players that did the trifecta. Him and Jamie Forrester. I can't think of anyone else out there. Who can you remember that played for Lincoln, Scunny, and Town? Jamie Forrester, Luke Waterfall, Connor Townsend.
I don't think he played for Lincoln.
He played for Hull, Scunny, and thingy, didn't he?
Scott Kerr played for Scunny, did he?
Danny says there were 8 former GTFC players playing in the Hartlepool York game this weekend. Danny GTFC says Boyce as a player who's played for all 3 in the Lincolnshire trifecta.
Of course, he also he scored for Grimsby Town while playing for both Grimsby Town and Lincoln City. There's a novel statistic. Luke Waterfall also got sent off against as well playing for Lincoln, didn't he?
Martin comes in with a beauty. Clive Wigginton, Rich Lord, who could have been on the show, says Charles Vernham. So yeah, there's another one. Daniel Lewis says, didn't Patterson? Yeah, so there's quite a few. Mike, have you got anything to say about Luke Waterfall before we move on and try and find something light to talk about?
No, probably the same. Absolute legend in terms of our recent history at the club. Big part of what we achieved, bouncing back up. Absolute character to coming back from that relegation season. It's no stain on his sort of ability and his remembrance here that he's probably slowed up a bit and needs to drop down a level. But he'll go down as a player that was really important for us. Getting back out of that National League, he was a driving force of that.
I think it's all good luck to him. I can't wish him anything more than the best.
Did you notice I was a bit apprehensive about using the legend word after our discussion in the WhatsApp this week?
Yeah,
I think
Bruce. For transparency, Bruce has a very, very high bar for what is and isn't a legend.
I don't think that's a problem. Why has he said he's coming on? Did he?
No, I've just used the word legend and not given a 15-page dissertation.
Shall I tell you who I think is a legend? David Nielsen. Played like 7 games. A bit like that guy who scored yesterday for Tranmere, who played 19 games for Scunny on loan and felt so, in touch with that team that, he decided to cup his ears at the Town fans, which was very odd. But, odd behaviour is everywhere this week. Right, let's try and wrap it up a little bit. Are we in a relegation dogfight?
No.
Well, I'm the negative.
We could be dragged into one if we're not careful, but at the moment we're not.
We've got
Can I just say something? Sorry, mate. Just because I've seen a lot about.
I love you saying sorry when you continue to do it.
Yeah, but it was just about that specific thing. Artel saying we won't get relegated. I don't mind that. I mean, what's the opposite?
He'll get sacked anyway. If we go relegated, he'll get sacked, won't he? So
I don't mind a bloke having a bit of confidence in himself and saying, "No, we're fine."
Getting grief. I'm getting grief for this. I very kindly helped put together a 5-a-side team in Grimsby. I voted on a vote that said, does money need to be taken before Tuesday? I said, yes. I think you should all pay up. Stop being so tight. And everyone thought I was coming down to play. But no, I wasn't driving 400 miles to pay in a 5-a-side game. So I'm really sorry.
Green out.
Yeah, green out. I wish I could, God, can you imagine who you could support? Who would you support if you could, in hindsight, with no emotional attachment, who would you have picked to support? Luton. That's a wild ride. That's a wild ride.
Because the good times would have been just so good. But I wouldn't want to do anything other than support Grimsby Town. Sad as it is.
Do you know this? This wasn't an emotional thing. This was a choice because I'm not from Grimsby. It was a choice.
Where are you from, man?
I'm from Rotherham.
I know you're taking the piss, sorry, because you don't mention you from Yorkshire very often. You started off the show talking about how good people from Yorkshire are because Joe Root was out of a hole.
Well,
again.
absolutely.
Not as good as people from Surrey, obviously.
Well, speak to the England selectors about that. So you pick every single half-decent Surrey player under the sun who aren't actually any good.
Beg your pardon. 2 county championships, my friend. I mean, if you want to give some back, that'd be really appreciated because I want to make it a third. But there we go.
Yeah, you can have Sam Curran and Tom Curran back in from the effort. They're really
Tom's
tearing
back.
up.
I think Tom's back.
Is a Red Bull player. He's awful. He's not up to it.
Anyway,
there is a southern bias.
I love this. Sam is the has an opinion on everyone, and there's none of this. Well, don't think I've ever heard Sam ever have an opinion that says, "Do you know what? I don't think they've just got there yet. I don't think they've worked it out yet. I just think give them a little bit of time." It's always that either the greatest thing since sliced bread, or they're the worst thing that has ever happened to the state of the game. Of whatever game that may be, there's no middle ground, is there?
And it swings. It swings between the two as well.
Yeah.
It's never consistent. It moves.
No. Yeah.
I just gave a balanced answer regarding whether in a relegation dogfight or not, but no.
That's not. Then
you said no, and then you qualified it with, but we could be dragged into one.
Yeah, because that's a caveat, isn't it? I was balanced on Glennon earlier on. I said Glennon is a poor man's Trent Alexander-Arnold, where his attacking play is very good.
Who, by the way, you consistently say on social media is one of the greatest players to have ever lived.
Yeah, he is.
So Glennon is basically like him. Is that what we're saying?
No, it's a poor man's version of it, a very poor man. But in terms of his attacking play is so good that you can put up with the defensive inadequacies. In that context, there's a case to be made.
So.
Say I'm extreme on everything is very unfair.
So,
it's accurate.
But I'm interested to see where people go with this. I'm not Artell. I'm not Artell out. I think he's been, problematic, and I think he's made choices that have left us vulnerable at times. I don't think we'd have lost to Walsall 6-1 at home under Hurst, but I don't think we'd have picked up any more points than we have. And I think the players are, almost wholly responsible for the mess we find ourselves in now, because they've had 4 different managers. And how many times, this is the story of the season, is, again, I saw people before the game saying, this is a game that matters. This is a game that we really need to stand up and be counted. I'm saying it as well. In the next couple of weeks, we're playing pretty much everyone around us. This is the time where we need to make it matter, and we can put distance between us and the relegation zone or whoever it may be. And every time we say it, these players shit the bed.
I think I said yesterday, I'm reserving most judgment until we've had the window, because I think that's fair. Let's see what he does and who he brings in.
Do you think we're bringing people in?
Yeah, I'd be pretty sure.
Do you think you're going to be happy with the window by the end of it? And I know that's a massive, weird one to ask, but do you think
I think
we'll be excited?
I don't think I'll be excited. I think I'll be sort of quietly sort of content, which isn't a bad thing, because that would mean I think we've got the players we need. I'm just well aware that a January window is difficult to do wholesale changes. Unfortunately, we're using a lot of our loans already, so I can't see much there. But I'm buoyed by the fact we've moved some players on that would have been on decent money and took some decent money in, so we must have freed some up. Lots of rumours about other players that might be on the way or have been told that they can go. And I don't think you're in a position where you let Luke Waterfall go and Oates Khan go if you're not fairly confident you've got some players coming in. We hear it all the time in summer and January that we couldn't get the player we wanted because they couldn't bring somebody in. So I'd be fairly confident. And
are you about to fall in love with a lone player, Mike, that we'll never get?
That's a new level.
Never fall in love with a lone player. Never fall in love with a lone player.
Never fall in love with anyone on a 3-year contract either, apparently.
Yeah, we only get to keep the 3-year contracts we don't want, like Alex Hunt.
But you are quite right what you say about Artell, though. I mean, I'm looking at the players. Honestly, I'm looking at the players now. And I said it earlier. I'm really starting to lose my rag with a lot of them.
You can't tell. It's not coming across.
You've lost it rather than starting it. It's gone.
Andrew Marr says, typical Yorkie, happy about the money.
We're not spending
Sam,
any of it.
Do you think we're going to be happy? You expected to fall in love with a lone player between now and the end of the year, and then, think that he has some sort of tie to this when he doesn't really give a shit?
I don't know. I'm with Mike, actually. I'm pretty confident we'll bring something in. Hopefully a right back in the centre half and a holding midfielder. They're imperative. Listening to Artell on last night, I get the impression that he wants to sign a Conte replacement, and he's got a pretty good idea who it is, and I think he'll be able to get him.
Is it Charlie Kirk by any chance?
He's a winger, isn't he?
I don't know.
He's a left winger.
I've come to a point now where I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fall in love with any of our players. I'm done with them. They can all find clubs. Apart from Danny Rose, I quite like him.
Danny Rose. Danny Rose can. Yeah, I like Danny Rose. I like Glennon. I like Issa. I like Gav Holohan. I like Niall Marr. There's a couple of days I sort of like, but not desperately fond of particularly. I like Vernon, but
what do you think we need in, Sam? What do you think we need in, Sam?
He's already said, hasn't he?
A right back, a centre half, and a holding midfielder. Those are the three positions.
What about a left back?
No. If you sort out the centre half and the right back, then I think Glenn's defensive inadequacies become less of an issue, and his benefits going forward remain. So, honestly, of the back five, include the goalkeeper, he's the least. The left back's the least position I'm looking at. In terms of starter,
Accrington Stanley next. Accrington,
yeah, I think you're probably right.
Do with 4. Accrington Stanley next. Any thoughts on that? I've got really none. I don't even know where they are in the table. I assume mid-table.
Yeah,
I think they're not far out of the playoffs.
I had one of the great days there in the relegation season. We were 2-0 down and won 3-2. That was a good afternoon. Still got relegated.
Was that Jamie Devitt?
Jamie Devitt, Michael Coulson, and Mark Hudson scored that afternoon.
We were all there, were we?
I was certainly there. It was, yes. I thought we were going to stay. I thought we were going to stay up.
Were you about 7?
10.
I think I might have gone with you, Alex.
You did. Me and you and Hannah and somebody else. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah. Guess who I was there with?
Member of the Conservative Party?
No. Anyway, I'm not going next week. Actually, I'm having a week off because I'm on a stag do next week.
I wouldn't be surprised. You have to do that.
So actually, this sounds bad, but I'm missing loads of games in the next few weeks. Not be able to watch them because I'm at stag do's, weddings, on holiday, so on.
I've got a massive month coming up. I've got, in March, I've got Sutton and Wimbledon down here in 1 week, and then I've got Bradford and I don't know who the other one is over Easter weekend when I'm up. Or over that 2-week period. Newport, Newport.
Are you going to Gillingham on the 16th of March?
Yes.
I've got my posh dinner this week. We always talk about that usually.
You got the ticket information so we can share that like we did last time?
No, Claire was very appreciative.
Did you have to bleep something out last time?
Yeah, I did. I think we've got Alistair Campbell speaking.
Good God, you can have my ticket, Mike.
How come?
Don't worry. We had William Hague, James Cleverley last year, so we've got to improve on it. William Hague was actually quite good.
Can't be as bad as Alistair Campbell. Awful person.
Right.
Bye.
Open wide for some soccer!
And now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1130. Go! At 1130.
I don't think I've ever wanted to be in a stand more than my life around there. They're going crazy. Hey, they got penalty here. There'll be fish flying about there. There's no tomorrow.
What a magnificent piece of football! A really